Last night, if you were watching, you saw that we brought you Richard Engel's extraordinary reporting from one of the most dangerously chaotic places on Earth, Somalia, a place the U.S. is increasingly concerned about. In fact, just this morning, the New York Times reported new covert U.S. military activity there in countries including Somalia to root out groups like al-Qaeda. Tonight, in part two of his report, Richard Engel ventures into the heart of that capital.
Flying into Mogadishu isn't for the faint of heart. On the airport runway sits the wreckage of a crashed plane. It's a fitting first impression in Somalia, which hasn't had a functioning government in 19 years. Our hosts are the 5,000 African peacekeepers here. Their mission is to prop up the Somali government, so weak it only controls a few square miles of Mogadishu. Somalia's president, Sheikh Ahmed, can't go much further than his palace gardens. What we need to do is build our institutions, he says, the basic framework of security and law and order. That's our first priority. It's an urgent priority because without a state to oppose them, 3,000 al-Qaeda-inspired militants called the Shabab have taken over half of Somalia. Mogadishu today is the most war-torn, dilapidated city I've ever seen. But what's happening here is far worse than just all of these destroyed buildings. The majority of the militiamen terrorizing the city are under 16 years old. Teenagers empowered by the chaos to enter people's homes, lash women for dressing inappropriately, and chop off the limbs of accused thieves. Under a thorn tree, I meet 20-year-old Abdelhadi and Ismail Abdullah, 18. Both claim they were falsely accused of theft and subjected to the Shabab's radical Islamic law.
And then they cut it through.
Their punishment, amputation of the right hand and left foot. Their parents forced to watch. I tried to call out to my mother and say, please, somebody save me, Abdi says. But it wasn't over. The militants returned 15 days later and sawed off 2 more inches of Abdi's leg just to make him suffer. I have nothing to compare the pain to, he says. The fighting and Shabab terror have created one of Africa's worst humanitarian disasters. 20% of children are malnourished. 25% of families have fled their homes. And there are only 250 doctors left in all of Somalia. But the African peacekeepers say they're powerless to stop the Shabab. The peacekeepers don't go to Shabab neighborhoods. Fighting, they say, isn't their mandate.
Our mission to Somalia is peacekeeping. We have not come to go out and engage ourselves in the battle.
Unopposed, al-Qaeda has made Somalia its latest safe haven. A sanctuary the CIA and FBI see as a dangerous and growing threat to the United States. Richard Engel, NBC News, Mogadishu.